multi-readers, we are going to start talking about our next learning target, which still goes along with the kinds of thinking we are doing while we're reading. And so that learning target we are focusing on for the next week is being able to make predictions in the different texts that you are reading. So we're going to talk about today what is a prediction and being able to make predictions in the reading you are doing each day. So with reading as thinking, remember that means good readers think about what they are reading, because this helps you to better understand the text. So one thing we have already done is we have talked about noticings in our reading. We have talked about wondering. So this week, we are going to begin practicing predictions, meaning what will your book be about? And we're going to use the clues from the text to decide what will happen next. So to do that, boys and girls, one of the first things we have to do is be active readers. So while you are at home, during your independent reading time, you're going to want to work really hard at being an active reader with your workshop book or your workshop book on Epic, and how you decide that with your teacher. So your active reading means, when we actively read, it means we are interacting and engaging with the text in order to really try to understand it, rather than just simply reading the words. So again, we want you to work on being an active reader. So you're not just reading, you're reading to understand. And using our think marks and focusing on our learning targets helps us to be active readers while we are reading. So with a prediction, making predictions means you're going to combine information in a text with your prior knowledge to anticipate what will happen next. We might look at the cover of our book, we might look at the title, we might use our characters and settings, we might use the pictures, and maybe even an author for the patterns that are happening across texts. So the goal is to not always to predict correctly, but rather to activate your thinking and understand what it is you are reading. So as it was modeled for you, you're going to look for text evidence, which is clues, to help support your predictions, and then you're going to jot and make some notes of that. So let's go through a few notes of practice first. So remember, to make a good prediction, you want to look at the facts. Then think about what you already know. So for example, in this picture, I see a snowman and I see a sun. And I know that snowmen are made of snow. And I know that snow is cold. I also know that the sun can melt cold things. So I know that when an ice cube melts, it then turns into water. So in this case, which prediction makes more sense? The sun will melt the snowman into water, or that the snowman will get a new friend. That would be nice if you got a new friend, wouldn't it? But that doesn't support the facts, the evidence of what is happening. So even though we use our prior knowledge and we anticipate things that are going to happen next, and you're not always going to be correct, and that is okay. But we always want to make predictions that make sense with the text of what's happening in your story, not just making any old prediction that might not even connect with what's happening in the story. So let's practice here. So in this picture, we see a kitty and we see a puppy. whose dish is this bowl? And what do you think will happen next? So just like on the other slide, we want to look for evidence of things that we know. So we can tell that bowl is a dog bowl because of its size, because of the size of the bowl. Often dog bowls are like the silver, round and shiny bowls like that. They're a very common dog bowl. So this actually is interesting because I know we're talking about predictions, but for me, the prior knowledge comes out in a text to self because this is something that happens regularly in my house. Regularly in my house, I have a cat who's sitting next to the dog bowl. And so I might definitely have a pretty close prediction of what might happen next. But one thing to look at too, boys and girls, is look at the body language of this cat. Look at the cat's face. Does the cat look nervous, stressed, or upset? And then look at the puppy. That is also going to have an effect on which prediction you're gonna make. So remember on the previous slide, okay, it talked about what didn't necessarily make sense because it didn't really support the facts. But when I look at the slide next to it and I look at the puppy again and I look at the kitty again, I see that they're both pretty chill. They're both pretty calm and mellow. So the effects on my prediction, if I use those clues, calm and chill, they're not growling at each other. I don't see any paws sticking up. And my prediction is, find that eraser. So this part's a little bit big down here. I predict both will eat out of the same bowl. So my prediction based on, remember in the Book of the Days, we also modeled the feelings and reactions of your characters. And so in this case, there is a cat and a dog, but I can tell how they're feeling, and thinking about their feeling helps impact my prediction. So let's look at one more together. Remember, we want to use the facts, the evidence in our schema to help us to make a prediction. So in this case, it says, what's happening here? What do you see? Can you use your own experiences to make two different predictions about what might happen next? So if we, first of all, look at what's happening. I see 3 friends, and these three friends are talking, they're laughing. I do see a little bit of whispering. And I do know that sometimes this little action of whispering could cause the other person eventually to feel frustrated and left out. But I do really see some really big happiness among all 3 boys. And so can I use my own experiences to help me make 2 different predictions? Yes. One, because I've been in this situation before. I know that sometimes that whispering can hurt our feelings. And so I predict, I'm going to call this one boy 1 and then boy 2, predict that boy 1 leaves to do something else. Okay, but a different prediction would be, I predict, or I think they move on. That the whispering doesn't affect the other boy, doesn't make the other boy feel left out, and that they're all sharing friends. And this reminds me, it makes me think of a text to text with the invisible boy. That if all 3 boys are being thoughtful of each other, I think they will just move on and continue to play together as all 3 of them. So if we look at the different clues, they can help us also make 2 different predictions based on our own experiences, which is called our schema. So boys and girls, today what you're going to do is you are first going to make your own prediction. And how do we do that? We're going to read a text and we're going to read the key details in the text. And you're going to look closely at pictures if that is in your own text. But in the text we give you, you will be using the key details in the text. And then you're going to use those details from the text to support what you think will happen next. So let's read this together. To make a prediction, we're going to read, stop, think, jot. We're going to read, stop, think, and jot. So read the passage below. Stop when it tells you to stop when it tells you to, and write down what it says above the sticky note. So sticky note 1 says, I predict. Sticky note 2 says, what is the problem? The children in Mrs. Ball's class were getting ready for a big day. Today was the day of the field trip to the zoo. They couldn't wait to see the baby chimpanzees. The students boarded the bus. The bus driver tried to start the bus, but... So we're going to stop and make a prediction. So it's asking us to stop, think, and jot. So we just read. So if we look at the clues, the children were getting ready for their big day. So it sounds like they're heading to somewhere important, which is the zoo. They couldn't wait to see the baby chimpanzees. Ooh, I would want to see baby chimpanzees. The students boarded the bus and the bus driver tried to start the bus, but what do we think's going to happen? So if we use our schema, when a car or a bus isn't starting, which I know, we probably need to call for help, right? So I predict that the bus driver calls for help and maybe gets a new bus. so that they don't miss out on their field trip. And then we will resume her reading. He tried several times by turning the key, but the bus would not start. The children asked, "Why are we leaving yet?" Mrs. Ball looked at the class with sad eyes and said, "Boys and girls, we have a problem." And so then we are being asked to stop again. So we're going to stop, and this time it's asking us, what is the problem? The problem is the bus won't start. The bus is stranded, or is the bus is broken. And they are stuck. And I did hear a couple other clues that did kind of help me add to my prediction. I heard, let's hit that erase right here though. I heard sad eyes. The sad eyes worried me a little bit. Makes me almost consider thinking about changing my prediction up here a little bit. But maybe if they get a new bus, they'll still be able to go. But the sad eyes worries me because that's then kind of the teacher saying, "Boys and girls, this really isn't looking good." And I predict that they don't go that day, but they'll be able to go a different day. So today, boys and girls, you are going to read your text of key details, and you're going to use those details to think about what you think is going to happen next in the story. Remembering that your stories bring out schema, right? Just like it did on this page. Okay, we think about all the details we are aware of, and we use those to help us create different predictions. And these predictions have to make sense, right? Just like with the snowman, we need the prediction to make sense. So again, your learning target today, boys and girls, is that you can make predictions in the different texts that you are reading. Good luck and happy reading today. We look forward to hearing all about your predictions and if they turned out.